Welcome to the off season. I've dug out of my hole. Sorry for the late start time. I got mixed up on daylight saving time. I didn't know it was a 1 hour difference. Um, I thought it was two, like it was throughout the end of the regular season. So, hope everyone's doing good. We're going to try to get to as many moves as possible and try not to get too scattershot. Shout out to Michael Mann. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Happy to be here, even though the late hour. Seems like
Yeah,
we're always streaming at like 11.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, man. Like you said, I prefer the night as well. So, I mean, we can go at this a wide variety of ways. I think we should start with the Bears because, like you said, we should start positive. I do have to throw out one critique about the Bears. I love Grady Jarrett. You're an NFC South fan, and I watch every game anyway. So Grady Jarrett's been a favorite of me. And I'm not saying the contract is terrible. I'm not saying this defensive tackle market isn't overheated. Like, we get it. I'm not really worried about the money until we get to one team. But this contract for Grady Jarrett was crazy. And I'm just telling you guys right now, biggest Grady Jarrett fan there is right here, but I haven't seen a pass rush in a season and a half, 2 years. And he's never been really good against the run. So, like, I think he slots into the defensive line well. I think the defensive line will be really good. I like the guy they got from the Colts. I'm not going to attempt to say his last name. And they shored up the offensive line. Like, I was surprised the Rams traded Jonah Jackson. I felt like that was a great move from the Bears. I like Drew Dahlman. I don't think they got waxed on that contract at all. Joe Thuney, I don't know
That
what you think about
that was
Thuney.
the one that surprised me the most. I was surprised the Chiefs gave him up when they're trying to compete for a championship as easily and as cheaply as they did. Great move for the Bears all around. I love the direction they're going in. They're not only going to be able to protect Caleb Williams, but they're going to be able to run the ball, which, as we know, of Detroit is kind of a staple of his offense. So, I mean, I think stapling up the offensive line is exactly what they need to do. We saw how much different Bryce Young looked from his rookie year to his second year with an actual real offensive line. I think you could easily say the same with Caleb Williams, especially in a much better designed offense. So I love what the Bears are doing. I love that they also improved the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. Gray Jarrett, I don't think that contract is that bad. If I'm being honest. 3 years, $43 million. I get he's old, but that's not a terrible deal. The market. I want to put a preface on this. The market for the NFL is going up so quickly and so drastically that it's kind of hard to tell what a bad deal is anymore. There was
Well, we don't
one
know the guarantees. Like, that's why I
right.
said, like, I'm not gonna mince money. Like, I mean, if there's like a Jags free agency when they got like Zay Jones or Gabe Davis, I mean, we have to get into the dollars and cents and break it down. But if it's not an outlier like that, that's why I said I don't want to go too hard on it. But I mean, come on, man. Like, I love Grady Jarrett, but come on, Grady
Well, and it's a
Jarrett is
3 year
on.
deal. That's the other thing too. There
Yeah.
was one deal. This isn't about the Bears. There was one deal that was really bad that I think we want to talk about right off the bat.
Okay,
Um,
go in there. Go.
Dan Moore getting $20 million a year from the Titans when he
Yeah.
was probably like the 20th graded tackle, like 20th best left tackle or right tackle in football over the last couple of years. Yeah, that's not a good deal.
Well, no, but that's like Jags type stuff because firstly, no one wants to go there. The coach isn't attractive. I mean, really, like I don't want to go on about Callahan. Like, literally, no one cares about my Callahan rants. But
Yeah.
if there was anyone who deserved to lose a job in this league, regardless of position, coaching, trainer, it would be him. He would be top on my list, maybe the Panthers medical staff. But other than that, he did a really bad job and no one wants to go there. So I feel like they're paying a premium, even though that's a pretty good place to live. Maybe a little bit overrated, but I did find that contract rather appalling. And also they're losing Harold Landry wasn't all that great. Like, I'm not even a Harold Landry fan. I'm just saying, if you're the Titans, pass rush is already putrid, so you lose Harold Landry. I mean, I guess you have to overpay for Dan Moore because the offensive line was probably 31-30 in the league last year, if we're even being generous. So that was the bad contract, and I think that really sums up their free agency.
I was against them letting Harold Landry walk too until I saw how much money he got with the Patriots, because he got a bag that I didn't think he deserved either.
Well, yeah.
He is okay. So, and I don't want to sound like a stat nerd here, but I value pressures more than sacks, whereas most people value sacks as opposed to pressures. If you know what I'm talking about,
pressures. I value activity. I value Josh Sweat getting 3 sacks. I think I was.
My point in all this is there is no player who I think is better at getting sacks when he doesn't deserve them versus how many pressures he gets than Harold Landry. And that's why I'm against him. How much did that guy get? Hang on.
Yeah, I can bring it up real quick.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah, he got 3 years, $43 million. That's not what no.
Well, and let's just get to the Patriots since you bounced to it, because we'll bounce around. And the chat's asking about Travis Hunter. I mean, I think he's going to be a top 5 corner, but I don't know. I think he's going to play corner. Where do you think he's going to play?
I would put him at corner.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I think like it's a good segue into the Patriots, because not a draft Nick at all, but that has to be who's going to draft him, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about the Patriots. And I think this was everyone's rave reviews. Like, I know everyone loved the Bears, and I can't smudge my nose at the Bears. We'll get back to them at a later date. But I did want to just comment that about Grady Jarrett. But yeah, Harold Landry was 3 years, $43.5 million. I felt like there was a lot of other better defensive ends on the market, like Josh Sweat going to Arizona.
The Falcons getting Leonard Floyd was also another great deal.
No, and I agree. And I would rather have Leonard Floyd than him, man. And that's what's concerning. And I'll even give another name. You're probably going to disagree with this. Lots of injury issues. Malcolm Kuntz, that the Raiders were able to re-sign. He hit the market. I would have rather a dice roll with that for the Patriots and then inject in some plus athleticism. My issue with the Patriots, and you had guys like Spillane, like, man, you love football. I love football. Spillane is the definition of a football player. But for a team that's lacking in athleticism, that it's carried over from the Belichick era, even when they're winning Super Bowls 7, 8, 9 years ago. They've been the slowest, least athletic team in the league. And you add Spillane, and I'm not going to hate it. He's a good player, but I don't know if I'd give him a big contract. Still haven't gotten a wide receiver, although I don't want to press anyone about that. You made a good point to me in the private chats. The wide receiver market is an absolute just overpay market, buying into an overheated market. But yeah, man, I like what the Patriots did, but I got to ask you a question. Carlton Davis or DJ Reed?
Probably DJ Reed, but I can see why you would go with Carlton Davis.
Why though?
I feel like he complements Christian Gonzalez pretty well.
No,
that's why I'm kind of defending it.
No, I agree. Like, if you put it in that sense, I agree. And DJ Reed isn't all that physical, and Carlton Davis definitely can get.
That's what I'm saying, and he can press the bigger guys while you have Gonzalez going like over the top, chasing with the speedsters. That's why I kind of understand it. But I can see why you want DJ Reed.
Yeah,
and my argument is they're two different guys, you have guys for whatever receiver you're playing. I can get behind that. And now, like with the Patriots, okay, here's my take on this. I like what they did, but I feel like the Commanders kind of did this too. The Commanders built up their offense when I feel like they needed to fix their defense, and the Patriots built up their defense when they should have fixed their offense. Because you're in New England, you have a young quarterback who still is pretty, I don't want to say he's unproven, but I think his best days are definitely ahead of him because he hasn't had a good supporting cast. And up to this point, they really haven't done anything to give him a better supporting cast. They haven't even signed it. Well, they got Morgan Moses, who's pretty solid, but other than that, they haven't really done a whole lot to upgrade their offensive line. You saw what the Bears did. They were out there just trading for guards and signing centers for cheap, like it was nothing. The Patriots haven't done anything like that.
No, and the Texans haven't either. That's
the Texans did the opposite. The Texans,
no, but that's what's most concerning about it, and that's why on Instagram I was like, I feel like Morgan Moses is the standout in this free agent haul, and it's a lot of money for more. I think the Morgan Moses contract's really good actually, but they splashed an awful lot of money for me to come on saying like, oh, I kind of like the Morgan Moses signing the best, especially when you get Milton Williams, like the prize of this free agency. And I don't know, man. I actually like the Milton Williams signing in terms of athleticism. They need a dog. They got a lot of cloggers in the middle. It's a rotational player. And yes, guys get better, guys elevate, but I don't know. I feel like the Eagles made a good decision letting them walk.
Well, and so I'm going to talk about this with the Panthers too, because they kind of followed a similar strategy. But when you're as lacking on talents as teams like the Patriots and the Panthers, and you have a ton of cap space, I don't necessarily hate overspending. And with Morgan Moses, or I'm sorry, with with Milton Williams in particular, I'm not sure. Did you hear the drama that happened with Schefter?
Go on.
All right. So as a Panthers fan, I was in a fury. Schefter came out around Monday at like 1 p.m. and said the Panthers are finalizing a deal with Milton Williams, which I love. I mean, you put Milton Williams and Derek Brown together, that is like a perfect marriage. You know, we have a good interior defensive line. We're ready to go. Then it comes out later by Rappaport and other reporters saying that, hey, no, there is no deal finalized. The Patriots are now in the hall. And the Patriots were apparently willing to give literally whatever it took to get Milton Williams. And the Panthers have about, probably a quarter of the cap space that New England does. So, of course, the Patriots won that bidding war. They were apparently willing to go up to upwards of $30 million for him, from what I've heard. And, of course, they end up landing him. Is that a big deal? Yes, that's huge. That's way more than I would have given him. That's why the Panthers didn't get him. Or Dan Morgan was saying the same thing. But like I was saying, like, I think it's worth it. When you're a bad team, you just need to get as much talent as you can. I'm not going to hate on the Patriots for this deal.
No, and listen, these contracts when they come out, we know a lot of it is fake, and we'll know the true extent of this contract in 3 months. Let's be realistic about it. I know the guarantees come out, but like I was even looking at Kirk Cousins' contract the other day. For the Falcons. I mean, that's maybe another situation we can touch on. I mean, because, Aaron Rodgers is looming and there's a lot of stuff in the works still, which is insane how that went on this long. But even the Kirk Cousins one, the Falcons can easily get out of it after this year. And they're not even eating that much cash against the cap this year, if you think about it. So, yeah, I liked it from the Patriots' perspective, but like I said, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I have like dopamine brain, like on Twitter all day. Like I wanted to fucking see a big name wide receiver go somewhere. I mean, I guess that's the same thing with the Panthers. Like, listen, and we talk about the offensive line an absolute ton, Mike. And we talk about the defensive line an absolute ton. But there's just something in my dopamine riddled brain that wants to see a wide receiver go to the Patriots or the Panthers. I'm sorry. And I have Stephon Diggs looming out there, and I know he's crazy. I don't, if anyone wants to do any digging, there's a Black Sports Online article about his antics last offseason, which are kind of like scary. With his brother, but I don't want to get into that on YouTube. But I wanted to see something, And let's get to the Panthers. Let me bring them up. You just give me your thoughts on the Panthers free agency. Like I said, like it's tough for me. I'll give my initial reaction. So with the Patriots, I'm fine with it. They need starters, and they got it. I wanted to see more offensive line, but I got to say, man, overall, I like the Panthers better than the Patriots this offseason.
Yeah, if I were grading it, I think I would give it a B minus. I love the strategy. I love what they're trying to do. I just would have executed it differently. But overall, I think they did do what they needed to accomplish. Did they overspend on a few guys? Absolutely. I mean, Trevon Moore, or I'm sorry, I cannot say his name. Trevon Moore from the Raiders, great safety. I feel like they overspent there. Charles Wharton from the Chiefs, paying him $17 million a year when he was really the defensive tackle number 2 opposite Chris Jones. Like, I felt like that was a bit of an overpay. But kind of like the Patriots, when you're as lacking on NFL talent as the Panthers are, you kind of just need to do whatever you can to fix that. And if that means overspending on a few above average players, I can live with that. They also made a lot of low key, like, I guess glue guy signings that I thought were really good. Bobby Brown is a very good run defender from the Rams, who the Panthers were able to get. Patrick Jones from the Vikings was another good one. Maybe isn't the best pass rusher in the world, but still a guy who can come in and give some good rotational depth that the Panthers didn't have last year. And then the cherry on top, Rico Dowdle. I love the idea of him and Chuba Hubbard getting 35 carries a game. Like that was a big issue we had last year. We're giving Chuba the ball a lot. We need to keep running the ball, and Chuba's already at like 20 carries for the game. So I love getting Rico Dowdle in here, making this run first offense. I hope. And overall, I really liked it. B minus overall, just because I would have signed a few different players than what the Panthers did. But if you're asking me, did they do what they need to do this free agency? My answer would be yes.
I agreed with your message you sent earlier this week that I think Javon Holland's a better player than Morig. Like that's where I'm at.
Well, here's the thing about that. So it's not only that, but schematically, it would have made so much more sense to sign Hollins because Morig is very much a guy you want in the box.
Yeah,
and
dude,
if there's one thing that Ejiro Evero hates doing, it is bringing his safeties up in the box. Like even when teams are running on us, he hates doing it. We'll be facing, the Colts or I don't know, the Cowboys, and they're in under center formations. Our run defense sucks, and we're still playing 6-7 man boxes.
I agree. And what's up, JJ? What's up, Silver Stars? What's up, Dan Chambers? Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted that guy fired at the end of last year anyway, but I don't care about the injuries. His concepts suck. Don't mean to go off tangent there, but he's really bad.
Well, and just to close the book, like the Pat Jones one, I liked because he's relentless. And like you said, he's versatile. He can play a lot of different positions. Like they played him at sometimes even 3 technique, 5 technique on the outside, on the edge. So, I mean, that's what you need. You guys should because you saw how bad the defensive line got last year once Derek Brown went down. We'll see what you do at defensive tackle. I saw some of your fans talking on your Instagram page about defensive tackle falling to you guys. I don't know. They take long to develop, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think you guys got Kuechly when you had like 2 studs at linebacker already. So I don't really dive in. I don't think teams, I don't think good teams with good GMs draft based on need.
No, you shouldn't. And that's my thing. I think Mason Graham is maybe a top 5 player in the draft. And if I'm the Panthers, I'm taking him at number 8, or I am trading the hell out of there. Those are my only 2 options. If I'm forced to pick at 8 and he's not there, I would probably take a receiver.
But yeah, man. And I'll close the page now. What are the Cowboys doing? Okay, I know Dowdle, he got paid $6 million with the Panthers. I think Javonte Williams got paid $3 million. I don't know, man. I've always been a big Javonte Williams fan, but I think he's kind of cooked. And I don't know, man. I just like I guess people are saying the Cowboys are going to draft a running back. Maybe you know more about that than me, but that was just one thing that stuck out about their free agency to me. I mean, there's not really much to elaborate on with the Cowboys, but that's really kind of just summarized their preseason. I mean, their off season. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, so they first off, Rico Dowdle did not get a 1 year $6 million deal. It was really like a one year $3 million. The
That's
other
why this
three
stuff's
million,
all fake, Mike. It's all
yeah.
fake.
Well,
Of
it's
the
all
stuff
incentive.
you read.
It's all incentive based. Like the Panthers are very good about signing guys to. The cap number is 6, but like really it's 3 because it's incentive based. So it's a 1 year prove it deal. But anyway, the Cowboys had no business letting him walk. I mean, when I was saying at the end of last year, I'm not putting money against the Cowboys. Rico Dowdle was a huge reason for that rationale. I mean, you look at some of the advanced metrics like yards after contact, yards per carry, things of that nature. He is near the top of the league from like December on. Like he was phenomenal to close out the season. Once he started getting the ball is really when the Cowboys finally started getting going. And the fact that they let him walk out the door and then he got paid as cheaply as he did, which really is kind of a theme this offseason among running backs, was really a bad move by Dallas.
Speaking of bad moves, we've been okay. I got to talk about the New Orleans Saints, and this is a team that is in cap hell. Even with, like you said, the cap getting lifted, let's not count dollars and cents. Let's get dogs in the building. Like we get all that, but man, this team has had the worst cap situation the last 8-9 years in the NFL. And you give Chase Young 3 years, $51 million. You give Justin Reed 3 years, $31.5 million. Resign Juwan Johnson, which I'm not going to make a judgment call on. And then you restructure with Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger. And I'm just left saying, can Chase Young even stay healthy? I know he played 17 games last year. I'm pretty sure, knock on wood, someone fact check me. But I just don't think Chase Young is all that good. Like, I would like to have him in the fold, no doubt. But for that price, and this is pretty much a race to win 8 wins. And this is kind of what sums up the Saints. And just last thing I'll say before you go on, man, okay, like I get it. Like I've seen Justin Reed kick a field goal, good football player, good locker room guy. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, remember when teams were like snubbing their nose at safeties? Like they wouldn't sign them during free agency for a 3-4 year period. And now Justin Reed's cashing in. And I felt like he was poor last year. But yeah, I'll let you go off.
Cherry on top of the Saints offseason so far. They recently announced that Cam Jordan will be returning for season number 15. I'm pretty sure he only had like 3 or 4 sacks last year. I'm going to look it up. But yeah.
No, and I don't want to pick on the legend. It's just there's only so much milk you're going to get out of that rock. And he's just been an absolute baller. And like Mike, as someone who loves football, you love football. It's the only game in town for me. I don't want to say anything bad about Cam Jordan, but dude, there's so much pressure on him to perform every year. It's ridiculous.
I will say bad. Yeah, he had 4 sacks last year. I will say bad things about Cam Jordan. I genuinely hate that man. Like I cannot stand Cam Jordan. If you ask any NFC South fan who they hate most in the division, Cam Jordan will most likely be the answer. I can't stand that guy. But okay, back to the Saints. So we've been saying for years that they need to tear this roster down, go complete rebuild. And we thought they were finally doing that by firing Dennis Allen and bringing in Kellen Moore. But then you get the free agency, and it seems like they're just trying to keep the remnants of like a 7-10 roster together. Like and they didn't. It's not like they went out of their way to sign most of these guys. Most of these guys were already in the building, and they just re-signed or restructured their contract.
No,
like what do you? And they were all defensive signings too.
No, and like I'm seeing DeMar Hamlin get a 1 year, $2 million deal. And listen, everyone was dunking on DeMar Hamlin. I kind of feel like he was good last year.
It was at least
Uh,
solid, average.
yeah, like, and I just wonder, and I'm not trying to talk like baseball or the PFF stat geeks, but I do wonder, Mike, what what is the difference between an above average to good safety with a league average safety? What does that do for your team? And for me, man, it's the safety position is more about combinations. Like I want one guy being an animal in the box, and I want one guy playing deep. That's what I want. I'm more worried about the combination. So Justin Reed and Honey Badger, I mean, that doesn't really do it for me.
My
But
thing with safeties too is I feel like you kind of need to have good corners for them to really be able to perform at the peak
yeah,
level. Like you need to be able to have corners who aren't going to get burnt in cover 3 in order to have that like center field or safety that comes out in the box and just rips people alive. Like, if you don't have good corners, your safeties can't really be doing that. So
no, I agree.
that's why I've never valued the position as much as other people. That's why I'm pissed the Panthers gave Trayvon Morig $17 million a year, even though like there was a guy in the chat who was pissed to lose him.
No,
But that's
yeah.
why I generally was not a fan of that contract.
No, and I'm Mike, but I do love seeing very good safeties play football. So
It's so entertaining.
yeah, so if he's at okay, if you think here's the thing with safeties for me. If he's very good to an elite level, I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. My other thing too, like I said, is I don't trust our defensive coordinator to use him the right way. Like if you're telling me we still have Ron Rivera and we're gonna be, bringing safeties to the line and just throwing them at the quarterback, like I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But I know Evero is not going to do that, so that's why I don't really care for a safety.
What's up, Dave? What's up, Angela? Extra Sauce has a question. This is kind of good. I mean, I think this is the crux of the issue. Lawsn, do you really feel the O-line pickups for the Bears will be a huge difference coming up, or is Caleb Williams' bad accuracy still going to be a problem? I feel Caleb is not accurate enough. Yeah, that's the $1 million question. Here's where I'm at on it. I'm going to just echo something Michael Mann said. I just think they're going to be able to run the ball well. And I think that's going to really help him a lot. But do I have confidence in him? No, I don't. And I'm not saying he's rocked from last year. Like, I don't really believe in that. Although we did see Bryce Young start the season really bad this year. And maybe that was a factor. Like, I don't think he's rocked. And I don't think he has the, I heard someone saying he has the yips. Like, well, no, dude, this isn't fucking baseball. But yeah, man, I think he has serious accuracy issues, but I think he's got the best play caller in the league outside of Andy Reid and Sean Payton. So I think the run game's the key. That's where I'm at on it.
I'm not losing hope for Caleb Williams one little bit. And honestly, we haven't seen the over-under win totals yet. But when those come out, if the Bears are something decent, that's definitely one I'm going to attack for over.
Should be coming out soon, man, because listen, you saw the St. Brown brothers' reaction.
Oh, yeah.
When the Bears got all these guys. Like, so they know what's coming. And I do. And maybe the Vikings take a step back as well. And maybe that opens up the Bears win total. Maybe we get a low ball at 7.5. I think it was 8.5 last year. And I think a lot of people lost money on that. But I think this year they go over for them.
I would be curious too, like, Jared Goff, when he came to Detroit, was not like a wanted commodity. And I feel like he's gotten a lot.
Right? It's like an NBA salary dump.
That's what I'm trying to put it nicely. But point is, like, I wonder who gets credit in Detroit for turning Jared Goff around. And if the answer to that is Ben Johnson, then I think you should really feel confident going this year as a Bears fan.
I'm curious what the Lions do. And I didn't think I didn't think the Lions offseason was all that bad. I kind of liked it. I really liked them getting DJ Reed. That's why I had to go with the Carlton Davis comparison. I kind of like them getting DJ Reed more. I'm curious.
They certainly paid less.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how it works out. And let me just bring up the Lions, man. Then we have to get to the Bengals. Like Lions brought Davenport back. That would do. Davenport actually was good until he got hurt, but he always gets hurt. But they didn't do much, man, and I think they lost Zeitler. But we'll see if they have another guard in play. But everyone's concerned about the Lions offseason. I'm not really concerned.
To be fair, they don't really need a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, they just need to stay healthy.
And
that's what they needed.
Yeah. I just think people are overreacting about that. Wanted to throw a little bit of cold water on that overreaction. Yeah. Larry Stewart will be going hard with the player props next year. So that was a fun experience, and I'm glad you hit on the Super Bowl ones.
The biggest thing the Lions needed was a corner, and they got that. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot that they need to accomplish as free agency.
Maybe I'm overrating DJ Reed. We'll see. I mean, DJ Reed was poor last year, but everyone on that team was poor. Like Sauce Gardner was poor, and I don't think Sauce Gardner is. I think Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the league outside of Surtain. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but yeah, man. I'm giving DJ Reed a pass on last year. Now let's get to the Bengals. Okay. Eventually they have to make decisions, but I'm going to explain to you why I don't think they can make decisions. So, okay, they re-signed Gaiseki, good chemistry with Joe. He can't block a lick though. They bring BJ Hill back. Why do they let him go? Anyways, happy with the BJ Hill, getting him back. I got to tell you something. The second franchise tag on T. Higgins pretty much summarizes the lack of planning and the lack of foresight in that organization. So I'll just leave it at that. And then you have the Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson thing. Here's the problem with the Bengals. The Bengals are the poorest NFL organization. Now, it's not really a cap issue with the Bengals in terms of signing players. I want everyone to remember back when Burrow's contract was due. The Bengals have cash flow issues because the Brown family, they aren't billionaires. They aren't rich like the rest of the NFL owners. So they're not cash fluid. So when you sign a big contract in the stratosphere that Jamar Chase is going to have, you have to take that money out, and there has to be a guaranteed amount. I'm not trying to get into the mathematics of it, but you have to write a big fucking check to just open up the deal and start the process. It's not really about paying the salary. It's about paying that bonus. And I don't think they have the money to do it. I think Jamar Chase is going to get his deal, and I think they're going to trade T. Higgins. So maybe that's good for Panthers, Patriots fans. I'm just not seeing how they're going to do this. And I'll let you go. I just think they have to let Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins go. Like the Trey Hendrickson contract, like he could write it, but I don't think he could do the T. Higgins or Jamar Chase after the Burrow one.
Okay, I have two issues with this. Number one, like you said, they just have no plan, it seems like. And even if you stick to what they have salary cap wise, there's no way they're going to be able to keep all three of these guys. And you could have known that, 12 months ago. But they seemingly just have no long-term solution to either trade one of these guys or keep all three of these guys. If it was me, I would keep Chase and Higgins with Burrow together. I would keep those three guys, have that unstoppable entity, and get rid of Trey Hendrickson. Like, that's the way I would do it, and just rebuild your defense from the ground up. But they don't seem to do that. And they say they're taking calls for Higgins and Hendrickson. But some GM reported that the price they're asking for is so like ridiculous and unbelievable that no one's entertaining it. So it's bad business, and they're not only screwing themselves over because no one's gonna pay a first round pick, plus a second round pick, plus whatever money they're gonna have to pay either of those guys. they're screwing over the players, they're screwing over their own team, they're screwing over other teams who want these guys. Like, it's just a lose-lose for all involved. It's bad business, and this is why we don't like the Bengals as a franchise.
No, it's Mickey Mouse. And T. Higgins
Yeah.
sandbagged last year to start the season. But I'm not going to get on him because, firstly, like you said, this is a poorly ran organization. Secondly, dude, I feel like the franchise tag is disrespectful. And I don't like it. And I know these contracts flowing around, people get a little bit envious and they say, Jesus, Tutu Atwell's getting $10 million a year. What the fuck's going on? Like, but man, it's tough to get to the second contract in the NFL. And I just don't like the franchise tag restricting it. I'm not trying to cry for millionaires. I'm just saying it isn't as much money as you think. And secondly, you have to pay a lot of dues to even get to this contract. And it's just like, let him go. And eventually you have to make cutthroat decisions. Trey Hendrickson has to go. And yeah, and you have to draft better, because what the Bengals have been doing the last 2 or 3 years in the draft, it's been rather scary. It's been rather just impotent. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Bengals. Like, we can't properly grade their off season, but I guess you kind of have to give it an F, because if you're not actively trying to trade T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, like, what are you doing?
I wouldn't give it an F if they're able to trade one of these guys. And this we can go into the Aaron Rodgers situation after this. But if you're telling me the Bengals are going to trade one of these guys and get like a haul in return, then that kind of turns their offseason around. Now, whether they draft well, we'll see. They haven't recently, and I think that's why their defense is so bad. But if you're telling me you get a first-round pick and are able to trade T. Higgins, like, that's a good deal.
No, I agree. They need picks. And then we'll close the book on the Bengals there. But yeah, and like Larry, I will be doing baseball on Patreon. I can't do videos on it. I can't do videos on it. I can't, man. I got to do like a golf voice for it, and I just don't have it in me. But yeah, like, let's get to the Rodgers situation. And we touched on the Diggs situation a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Diggs situation. I think people think Diggs is literally insane. And I don't know how true that story was with his brother, what happened last offseason. I really don't know. But he's definitely giving me crazy vibes. But crazy sport for crazy people and all that. But Rodgers is also someone a lot of people think it's fucking crazy. But I got to tell you one thing that's crazy. I know everyone wanted to dunk on Adam Schefter, and like, I get it. I don't like Adam Schefter. He makes me feel squeamish, like trying to beat other reporters to a scoop in 30 seconds. I don't know. That shit's lame. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get it. Like, he's slimy and like, it's fun to dunk on Adam Schefter. But he kind of did have a point yesterday when he said, like, why is Aaron Rodgers making us wait like this?
Right.
Like, why is he doing this to the Giants and Steelers?
And it's not about the money. Like, there's no tactical reason to do this.
It's just, I don't get it. And Mike, I don't get it. Your stab is as good as me. Maybe he's waiting for the Vikings to get into play. Mike Florio was painting that, but Mike Florio was painting fucking Kevin O'Connell would be fucking traded. So Mike Florio swinging a pretty cold bat. I mean, he's a cold bat on everything. Yeah. But I don't know, man. He has to go to Steelers, right?
He better. And I'll tell you what, too. The Steelers trading for DK Metcalf for seemingly, I mean, I don't want to say no reason, but when they really didn't need to trade for him, in my opinion. And now you pair him with George Pickens when you currently have no quarterback on your roster. That is certainly a bold decision.
It's bold. And it
Yeah.
makes me think maybe the Rodgers thing is done.
They better
But
get him. That's what I'm saying. Like, they better get Aaron Rodgers, or otherwise you're wasting both of these receivers' primes.
well, why didn't you like to trade for DK Metcalf besides not having a quarterback, which is a pretty
Yeah.
big reason? I mean,
My thing is kind of like
did
we were talking about with the Patriots. I feel like DK Metcalf and George Pickens kind of do the same thing. Like,
yeah,
neither
no,
of them are, they're not great separators. They just both kind of win jump balls. And I feel like you kind of need receivers who can do different things, like, that are quality. And you'll remember this, like, this is going way back, but back when the Panthers had Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess, like, both of them were solid receivers at one point, but the offense was terrible with both of them because neither of them could run, and they did practically the exact same thing.
No, they do the same thing, and I think George Pickens will be on his way out. But maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. But yeah, I think DK Metcalf's in a different stratosphere. But
Yeah,
I get
one other thing too, and this isn't really football related. This is just like funny, which is why I want to bring it up. You Steelers are probably going to lead the league in fights escalated this year. Like, no question about it. I don't know why they consistently do this to themselves, but like, the Steelers seem to just always get like the craziest players they can. Like, not the ones that commit crimes, just the craziest overall people.
It's tough sport for tough people, right?
Yeah. Like how Mike Tomlin kept Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Big Ben all on the same page, like, working as a competent unit for so long is crazy to me. Like, Tomlin should get like a Nobel Peace Prize for that accomplishment.
No, I know. It's
Like,
insane.
it's genuinely crazy, and but he's doing it to himself again. Like, Pickens and Metcalf are both hotheads who are no strangers to starting fights in games, and it's not like it doesn't. This is just we're shooting the shit about this. Like, this is just fun to talk about. But it is an interesting decision from that aspect.
No, it's really interesting. And, there's only one ball to go around. And right now, the options are Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson to try to keep those two dogs happy. And, I don't think that's enough. I think there's going to need to be service. And,
Right.
if you don't get an elite quarterback in there, or even if you get Rodgers in there with that offensive line's poor.
Yeah.
And, it was fun dunking on Russell Wilson, and I took a little bit of egg on the face for a good 6-7 weeks about it. But it was fun dunking on him, and I have no regrets about it. I was right. But that offense line's bad. And like you said about Rodgers last year, you felt like every time he got hit, the drive was over. It's just fucking wrap it up. Let's
get the punt team out there.
Yeah. Well, and then you remember against the Rams, they fucking didn't punt the whole game. And they only put up 6 points. Although
that's crazy still.
No, they did so many things that you just are beyond statistical anomalies. Like, it needs to be revisited. Maybe I'm going to go watch it on Game Pass.
We should do that. We should do a watch along of a Jets game. That would actually be really funny.
Well, yeah. Well, you remember we were betting that Rams one, and I bet the Rams, and I felt like we were in fucking trouble. I was like,
"Oh, dude, that game was terrible."
No, and Jets are moving the ball up and down the field the whole game, putting up like fucking 450 yards. Like, PFF guys are creaming their pants because the stats are so good for the Jets. Yet they put up 6 points and don't punt it. I don't know how that's even possible. But yeah, Vikings option, or maybe that's wishful thinking.
What, for Aaron Rodgers, or?
Yeah.
Part of me thinks that he's gonna do it just for like the chaos it'll create, because Brett Favre pretty much did the exact same thing. And honestly, you know what? If I was Aaron Rodgers, that is who I would go with. Like, if I were him, I don't know if the Vikings are interested in signing him. I don't know what their thought process is. They're kind of in a crossroads with the whole JJ McCarthy situation. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, that's where I want to go.
They're in a big crossroads, man. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want the good left tackle and right tackle. And I'm just not sure you're getting that with the Steelers. Like, I'm worried about the Steelers.
Well, to be fair, when your choices are Pittsburgh and New York, like, that's That's a low bar to beat when we're talking about offensive line play.
Yeah, the Giants. Yeah, I'm concerned about it. I am really concerned about the Giants.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to get someone in there, and Bills like the Bosa signing was the big play. What did you think about the Bosa one? I have mixed feelings about it. I'm not gonna dunk on it, but it's just, can he stay healthy? But Von Miller was poor last year, and Rousseau was one of those guys. I don't know how you feel about Rousseau, but when I think of Rousseau, I keep thinking he's going to be a top 10 D end, and maybe he is. I certainly think so, but yeah, I felt like that pass rush was a little bit lacking. Like even the Chiefs, against the Chiefs, both matchups a little bit lacking, and even against the Dolphins couldn't block anyone the whole year, a little bit lacking. I don't know if I've seen Rousseau hit Tua the whole year. I don't know, man. What's your take on both? So,
I mean, it's fine. You could have done better. The thing is, too, and this is kind of the theme for the entire free agency class. If I'm the Bills, I want to get a difference maker in the front seven, and there just wasn't anyone available this free agency class. And that's not just for the defensive end position group. That's for like all positions. This free agency class was very weak. There were a lot of players coming out, but none of them were like elite level difference makers. Teams, to their credit, Bengals aside, teams to their credit did a very good job this time around keeping their cornerstone guys. You don't normally see
you
that.
guys signed J.C. Horn. That would have
Right.
been the dude I would have wanted.
That deal was. I mean, that was bad contract. I'm not gonna lie, that was a terrible contract. But they kept him.
He's good, man, and
he's good. But I don't want to give a record-setting cornerback deal to a guy who has been on IR for half his career.
Good point.
But I love J.C. Horn. I love J.C. Horn. I'm glad we got back.
But you look at the Byron Murphy contract that the Vikings re-signed him with, which is kind of like an above-average corner, and you saw his contract, and
Carlton Davis also got $20 million.
Yeah, you saw what the Colts did, and like Colts, on paper, they had the weakest defensive backfield last year. They actually covered better than I thought, but you saw what the Colts did. I don't think they drastically upgraded their secondary for all the money they spent, although let's wait and see how the pieces fall. Cameron Bynum, I know he's a safety, but leaving the Vikings for a huge deal, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that. I think that was more Flores' scheme. But
I'll tell you what, though, the Colts are about to have the most entertaining quarterback battle in camp in NFL history. Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson for QB1. That has got to be must-see TV.
No,
Colts should go on Hard Knocks just for that alone.
No, I think that's good stuff, man.
That would be. I want to see that. That's gonna be hilarious.
No, I want to see it, and I do want to just talk about Charvarius Ward for a second.
Yeah,
he got a 3-year, $60 million deal from the Colts, and I know he only had one bad year, and it was last year, and he was banged up. I don't know, man. I don't know.
He also got $20 million a year.
I just don't know.
I feel like he's an average, like number one corner, maybe a little below average.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I was just underwhelmed by it. And the Daniel Jones swipe, you kind of have to, because I don't know, man. I just don't know if Anthony Richardson is a professional at this point. And he can't throw the ball. So I think the Colts are going to be fourth in that division. I like what the
really.
What do you think about the Jags?
Well, I want to touch on the Colts.
Go on.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like I don't want to say this, but Daniel Jones schematically, I feel like really could fit for what the Colts want to do.
No,
I could actually see that working out, and they turn Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones could pull a Sam Darnold this year and look like a decent player.
No, I agree. I felt like it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess with the Colts at this point, you have to be interesting.
And the Colts, say what you will, they have a much better offensive line than what the Giants were putting up last year. And that's
No, of
something that
course.
Daniel Jones haters do not talk about enough. How bad his offensive lines have been through his career.
No, they were really bad.
Yeah.
And but I do like I do want to just look at the Vikings like because Vikings got some Colts offensive linemen. Okay, 1 second. Let me bring it. Let me bring it up. Okay, the Vikings got Ryan Kelly, Colts starting center for a long time. Like I kind of felt like Ryan Kelly was kind of the weak spot of that offensive
Yeah.
line. So I don't feel like the Colts really lost anything. And man, and just to finish the Vikings, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with what they did. But the Will Fries overpay was astronomical, man.
Yeah, that's
Astronomical.
bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and it just makes you think like maybe you should just draft a guard.
Yeah.
Um, no, and who else do we need to touch on? Like I kind of like what the Raiders did. Uh, I
Really?
I I I kind of like what the Raiders did more than what the Patriots did. Okay, I get it. They lost a lot of players. Um, but man, okay, you get Mostert, very fast running back, cheap contract. I'm fine with that. They needed an upgrade there. I like I said, like I like Malcolm Coons, and I feel like he's better than Harold Landry. Can he stay healthy? That's a question. You get Max Crosby back, and you needed to plead with him to come back. They re-signed Adam Butler. I felt like Adam Butler was really good last year at defensive tackle, and we're seeing how cooked this defensive tackle market is.
Yep.
I'm not saying Adam Butler's great, but come on, man. Obviously, there's a bear market on it. And them getting Jeremy Chin, I'm fine with. Like I said, they lost a lot of good players. They get Geno Smith in a trade. I'm fine with what they did.
Yeah, and here's my kind of theme with the Raiders overall. They do not seem to. So I'm of the concept of when you're building an NFL team, you want to start from scratch and really build this thing up for long-term success. It feels like the Raiders are trying to win now, which makes sense with Pete Carroll, and they're setting themselves up to basically go all in on a 9-10 win season.
No, I don't. I didn't get that vibe.
I mean, how are they setting themselves up for long-term success with Geno Smith
No, but
for the
I don't
price
know if
they give
that's a
him?
long. I don't know if that's a long term option. But like you said, I just think they want to put something presentable out there. Like they're
I,
still new to Vegas. Like some of watching Aiden O'Connell and Minshew play football isn't all that
yeah,
great. Although watching Geno Smith throw red zone interceptions isn't all that great either. But yeah, who else do we need to touch on?
the Broncos. I think that's one we need to go with.
Yeah, dude. I go right on the Broncos. I liked it, like you said.
Yeah, I thought it was good. They seem to be going all in on making their defense an elite unit. I'll be honest, I didn't agree with the way they went about it. I felt like they really needed to add another run stuffer, kind of like the Panthers were focused on. It just felt like any time they played like a big time opponent, they just got ran on.
Yeah.
And AKA Bills, Ravens, like when they played both those teams, they just got run over. The secondary I never
Chargers,
felt was
the first meeting. I
right.
mean,
Yeah, the secondary was never the problem. And they did upgrade it. Hufanga is a fantastic safety. I think if he can stay healthy and return to form like he was like 2 years ago as one of the best safeties in the league, I feel like that'll be a great move to really take their secondary over the top. And then Dre Greenlaw as well. Kind of help the run defense there a bit. Like I said, I would want like an interior, run stuffer, someone to really, keep opponents under 4 yards of carry. But I don't mind this. This is a good fantasy class.
no, man.
And you want to talk about a team that just does not care about getting good receivers.
One
And I think,
second.
yeah,
1 second. I just want to say, I wanted to get your take on one Broncos signing. I like the combination with Sean Payton, Evan Ingram.
that is a good signing. Yep, that is a
Not
good
like he
signing.
had a fucking quiet, really good year for the Jags. Like I know no one watches him, but anyways, I just think Evan Ingram with Sean Payton is fire. Like watching
Yeah.
Troutman run routes last year, it just didn't do it for me. All right, go on to your point. What you were going to say?
Well, no, that you actually just kind of countered it. That was the one pass catching move that they made, and it was needed. But I'm to the point, like I just think Sean Payton does not value the receiver position at all. Because he did this with the Saints too, where you had Michael Thomas and then no one else. And
Well, and
now
he
it's
got
kind of
rid
the
of
same thing.
Patrick last year for no fucking reason.
Right. And like, none of these guys are scaring you as a number 2 option.
No,
Like it
and
still feels like to beat the Broncos offense, like on paper, all you need to do is, bracket Cortland Sutton and then man up the rest of these guys and then make Sean Payton out scheme you.
no, and then you get 5 or 6 quick throws to Denzel Mims a game, and you just hope the NFL tackling is at an all-time low, and then you win.
Exactly.
Which it's not. It's especially when you get later in the season, although Chargers couldn't tackle them that one game.
And listen, we know, like, it's impossible to get a number 1 receiver for cheap nowadays, unless you get them through the draft. But like, there were a good amount of number 2 receivers out there in this free agency period, and there still are, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
And that's, if I'm the Broncos, that would be who I want. Like, go get yourself a Cooper Kupp, go get yourself a
Amari
Stephon.
Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. Like, there are guys out there who can contribute to this offense. And I feel like if you were able to get a solid number 2, like, you would be able to really, take your offense to the next level.
Yeah, and are we going to see any of these big name receivers get traded? Like, I got to tell you, man, I'm love what Washington's been doing, but can you try to explain to me them getting Deebo Samuels? And are we overreacting about Deebo Samuels? I don't know, man. I just kind of think he's washed.
I don't see how it hurts. I think he's a good compliment to Terry McLaurin. I'll say that. Is he gonna go for 1,200 yards like he did in his prime? Probably not. But there are worse things you can do if you're the Commanders.
Can he run anymore?
Certainly not as fast.
No, but Mike, that's the big question. Like, I don't know if he can run anymore. And I get he's banged up, but hasn't he been banged up his whole fucking career? I mean, there was one year when they beat the Packers in the playoffs when the Packers were a damn good team where he was a fucking running back.
Uh-huh.
And Jimmy threw for like 60 yards and they won.
Yeah, I remember that game well.
Oh yeah. Trust me.
Yeah.
Laying Packers -6 that day. But and you lose like when the guy throws for fucking 60 yards. Man, playoffs.
And it's like 5 degrees out too.
Yeah.
Was that the COVID year? No, I think it was after the COVID year.
It was in that era.
Yeah, that was a doozy. I remember that one well. That was
I mean, that was fun, but it was good football to watch. And then the Packers got that punt blocked. And then
they lost on a punt block. That's what it was.
And then Rodgers didn't even put up a fight. Like,
it was like 5 degrees in that game. Like, that was a frozen tundra like special, and it just completely favored the 49ers. Like, if it had been like 40 degrees that day, I still feel like the Packers would have killed them.
I thought so. I mean, it was cinema. Anyways, like anyone else we need to talk about, because like I felt like we really needed to get on the Saints and Bengals. Packers, I felt like they had a big overpay in Aaron Banks. Maybe the Raiders fans can chime in with Nate Hobbs. Like, I've always liked Nate Hobbs. I just don't know if I like him that much. Although the contract isn't as egregious as other. I just think Aaron Banks, he's an average guard. He's a mid guard, and he's cashing in paydays. So
I think we can talk about the Texans trading away Jeremy Tunsil.
Yeah, with Tunsil, I kind of understood it, but there has to be a plan in place to get someone in, because Tunsil's been really fucking sloppy.
Like, you know what? I'm with you. I understand the long-term thinking, but like the short-term thinking for this offseason is, we're the Texans. We need to improve this offensive line. So trading away our best tackle and like one of the best tackles in the league is not the way to do that. So like, but I get what you're saying. Like, he's an older player. You know, the Patriots were the kings of this, like identifying when a player's kind of falling off and trading him while he's still valuable. If that's what they're doing, like, I get it. But it's just with how crappy their offensive line was last year and how much it impacted Stroud, I don't know if that's the move I would have made.
No, and especially because last year it looked like they were going Super Bowl or bust. Like it's a long off season. But yeah, like the Tunsil trade, I think I think they fucking just lost their head with him because the pre-snap penalties. Like there's been a lot. I don't have the ranking in front of me, but as someone who yeah, man, but you can't make rash decisions. And it felt like a rash decision, but they don't have a plan in place. So we'll see. They still got the draft, but I don't know, man. Like the draft.
When you can't fix your entire offensive line in the draft.
It's crazy, man. I wonder what Coop's thinking. I know Coop was in here, but let's talk about the Seahawks before we go. I felt like the Josh Jones signing, I think he's going to end up starting on the offensive line, whether it be right guard, right tackle. He can play all the positions. I felt like that's a good signing, giving some of the checks I'm seeing this year. I guess we got to talk about Sam Darnold. I like what the Bucs did as well. Although
Bucs had the funniest free agency I think I've ever seen. They spent $40 million on Chris Godwin and Hassan Reddick in like the first 10 minutes of free agency, and then pretty much have done nothing since. Like they were in and out with their moves for the offseason.
Yeah, cool. What's the plan for the Texans? And what did you think about like Lawrence and Darnold for the Seahawks?
Well, actually, okay. So I'm curious to get your take on this. I really do not like the Seahawks signing Sam Darnold. And I say this like as the president of the Sam Darnold fan club, you know, circa 2022. Like, my thing with Sam Darnold this entire time has been you need to put him in a good situation. And I don't think that Seahawks offense is a good situation.
That offense line's bad. They're
right. That offensive
bad.
line is terrible. And that's the one thing that Sam Darnold really needs. Like, I feel like if I'm Sam Darnold, I would rather have a great offensive line than a great receiving core. Other quarterbacks may prefer the opposite, like Joe Burrow. He probably needs good receivers rather than a good offensive line. Trying to think who else is probably in that category. Tom Brady probably would rather have good receivers than a good offensive line, though Tom Brady can work with anything. But the point is, like, Darnold has proven time and time again that he needs to be protected, and I don't think the Seahawks will be able to do that.
I don't think so either. That offense line was really bad last year.
Yeah. Geno needs to get credit for making it look better than it did.
No, and his red zone interceptions took away a lot of heat out of those guys. But there were some games there where they just were not competitive. And maybe it was a coaching thing. But there were some games that they weren't competitive. And I actually thought that offensive line going into the year was on the up and up. And someone's asking, do we trust Sam Darnold? I don't trust him in this situation.
Yeah, I don't either. And to be fair, there wasn't really a good spot for Sam Darnold to go. Like, there was nowhere that was going to be as good. His only hope was to re-sign with the Vikings.
Colts, but I don't think the Colts were audacious enough to give him that big contract. And at a certain point, you know, you get that money flashing in front of you, you got to do it.
Right.
And I'm curious to see how that plays out. Like, I think the Seahawks defense will be really good this year, but we saw them peak at the end of last year. But I don't know about that offensive line.
And now the receiving core definitely took a step back as well. You lose DK Metcalf, which first off, I gotta say, losing DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in like a 30-minute span has to be like a fat kick in the balls if you're a Seahawks fan. Like, that sucks. I feel bad for anyone who endured that. But then you replace them both with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who at least he gets open. That's all I'll say. At least he gets open.
No, and that's bad for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
That's bad for any quarterback, really. and they weren't able to run the ball last year.
Mhm.
And
Well, Charbonnet had a coming out party toward the end, I thought.
they struggled to run the ball though for
Yeah.
big stretches of last year. And I don't know, man. I like what Arizona did.
Yeah, I thought Arizona did well. Getting they haven't done a lot, but the moves they have made have been good. Getting Josh Sweat on $19 million a year. He's kind of the opposite of what we were talking about with Harold Landry. He is the king of getting pressures and not getting sacks.
Yeah.
So, and I
And
would rather have pressures than sacks. You pair him back with Jonathan Gannon, like I think you're in a good position.
no, I agree with that. Anything else we need to touch on? The
Um,
Myles Garrett thing.
oh yeah, we can talk about that.
I, 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 I guess I'll start with people are dunking on him because he says he wants to be a winner, and then he ended up re-signing with the Browns. Man, I don't know. Like, I don't want to dunk on him for that.
Yeah, I mean that contract like shattered any contract the defensive end had gotten prior to.
He fucking
So
deserves it. How he's playing on that foot last year. He's fucking
yeah,
dragging that thing and still winning battles.
I mean,
Jameis doesn't have a team yet.
oh gosh, Jameis. Yeah, I hope he goes to the Giants. That's who I'm hoping he goes to. But no, okay. Back to Myles
Okay,
Garrett.
go back to the Browns. My bad.
I would have. Look, I know it'd be tough, but I would have traded him. I mean, you got a guy in the building who has directly said, I don't believe in the direction this organization is going. I don't believe they can win. I don't believe in what we're trying to do. And then you pay him $40 million. It's
No,
not a good look. And you could have, the assets you could have gotten from Myles Garrett could have gone a long way to rebuilding this team.
well, especially like you said, there was no pure elite players in free agency. There was no
Exactly. So this would have been the perfect time to trade him. Like this would be, you would have had a great opportunity to get some great draft capital and to clear up your cap from the Deshaun Watson debacle. And they did the exact opposite. And like being honest, are the Browns going to win anything while Myles Garrett is in the NFL? Probably
no.
not. So like, what's the point of keeping him around?
Well, if they didn't do that Deshaun Watson contract, they would be within striking distance easily.
Probably,
They
yeah.
might have been able to win something.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
I
Someone
really
said in the
don't.
comments, Browns being Browns, and
Yeah.
that's the truth of it.
No, man, it's grim. And honestly, to the Deshaun Watson situation just isn't going to go away. It's just it's never going to go away until they like break a check and just send him home.
Well, they gotta just eat up the contract at this point.
It's just
financially there's nothing they can do
because there's stuff I wanted to ask you. Like I want to know who's going to start for the Giants. I want to know who's going to start for the Steelers. I want to know who's probably going to get Shadur Sanders. Like I want to know who's going to get Cam Ward from Miami. Like I want to know these things. And Aaron Rodgers is holding everything up. Like it's actually really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Like it's
all Aaron Rodgers' really fault.
Annoying. Imagine if you're Brian Daboll. Okay, I think Brian Daboll's a good coach. Fair enough. You obviously the results haven't been great the last 2 years. Okay, I think Brian Daboll's a good coach. But imagine being Brian Daboll and Joe Shane and having Rodgers just fuck you around until Thursday. Okay, everyone signed. And then like Rodgers is just like dicking.
Or imagine being like Jameis Winston and you're having to wait for Aaron Rodgers to sign for a team and you're then going to go to the other team to have a chance to start. Like that sucks. That really does suck.
And then Jameis, he could have took that cushy backup job with the Chiefs that Minshew got because he's waiting to start. But yeah, and the Browns not bringing up. The Browns.
It's like okay,
instead of Jameis Winston.
Yeah, it's like when you ask out a girl and she hits you with like, I'll think about it or I'll decide that day. Like that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing to them right now.
It must be torture.
Yeah,
And
and you know he's not going to the Giants. Like, I doubt he's going to go to the Giants.
Yeah, man, and Zach, I don't know what team Cam Ward's going to go to because Aaron Rodgers won't sign a fucking contract.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. And then, like, someone tweets out a photo of him in a fucking blanket walking on the beach. And I'm just like,
he's going on a darkness retreat, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really wish he had just retired. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's not doing himself any good sticking around.
I'm kind of taxed on it, man.
Yeah.
He did play good the last 6-7 weeks, excluding that Bills game. The mobility
That's true.
Come back.
That's true.
But yeah.
It's just what are you going to accomplish with him, especially those two teams?
I would like to do the Vikings dice roll. It'll probably end in heartbreak like the Favre one. But it was a fun ride.
Yeah. I mean, if he goes to the Steelers, that is going to be. Here's the thing about the Steelers too. We've talked about this previously. They hate the idea of being an explosive offense. And now you're going to have an offense of DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and Aaron Rodgers who are going to want to do their own thing and throw the ball out. Like, I'm curious to see how that goes if that happens.
Well, yeah, and another thing people forget about the Jets last year, Rodgers was throwing the ball down the field an awful lot. Remember his last 2 years in Green Bay? Fucking dude would barely throw it over 5 yards. He was pumping it with the Jets. And yeah,
man. Trying to get all he can out of that arm.
I know, and it was kind of at times it looked good. Like they had some perfect drives, and yeah, man, I get why people are waiting on him. I just don't know if I'm the Steelers, if I'd be waiting on him and have to sign Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Like I just don't know if I could do it.
You know who would have been great for the Steelers? Justin Fields.
Yeah, I know.
That's why we brought back.
Was trying to yell that all year last year.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing indicating that Justin Fields would have stunk it up.
No, and he wasn't. I don't know, man. That thing was puzzling last year with Tomlin, and dude, he's a great coach. He adds plus value. Let's be real about it. Like people saying he can't coach is just ridiculous, but that was one thing that really left me questioning him. Like he just doesn't like Justin Fields.
Yeah,
It's that was one thing I just didn't understand last year. There's a lot of stuff I didn't understand last year.
And the fundamentals behind it was like, oh, we want to throw the ball downfield more, but yet they still didn't fully commit to that offense. Like until they were losing is when they would start to throw it.
Yeah,
like the thinking was stupid.
No, and Russell Wilson, like they would do like a play action rollout. Fryer moves wide open in the flat for an easy 7-yard dump off. Russell Wilson would throw it at his feet.
Yeah.
And I get it. Maybe with Russell Wilson, you get more downfield plays. But I mean, man, those are low percentage. Like, give me the guy who can just roll out and throw a 7-yard touch pass. Like, at least Justin Fields can do that. But yeah, man, Jets get Justin Fields. I mean, credit to Aaron Glenn. I mean, I don't feel like it's a bad option given the circumstance.
No, I don't either. And I that's a great culture fit as well, I feel like.
Yeah, man. And that defense has to be better, right? I mean,
it can't get worse.
No, it has to be better. Like, I mean, they let that front seven decay way too much. Letting players like Josh Sweat go, which I never really understood. Remember that when they let him go before last year. And so, yeah, man, like there's some.
Or Bryce Huff was another one too.
Yeah, Bryce Huff is fucking good, man.
He was a dog for the Jets.
Yeah.
In their defense, I think they're in prime position to get Mason Graham this draft.
I want to see it, man. I want to see. But yeah, who are the good wide receivers this draft before we go?
So it's not as good of a class as it was last year, but I still think you have some good players. Trent McMillan is the big one. And if the Panthers are picking at 8 and he's there and you have to pick at 8, he's probably the one I'm going to go with. Basically a combination of Drake London and Mike Evans with like better run after catch ability. Then you have Luther Burden, who I guess if I had to pro comp him would be DJ Moore. Not the best like route runner coming out of college, but can when he gets the ball in his hands is basically a running back. All these receivers too, like pretty good explosiveness, like coming out of their breaks. Like they all can go from 0 to 100 very quickly, which is what I like in my guys. Matthew Golden's another solid guy. Like this is a decent class of receivers.
Well, hopefully you get one. And
yeah, we better get one.
Yeah, no, man, and like I wasn't trying to panic about the Panthers receiving core, but I do just feel like you need another body because okay, I like Leggett, we love Thielen. I feel like Coker is something you haven't had in your young receivers in a long time. Someone who could actually develop, who's actually worth a project, worth throwing out there, even though I don't know. I think Coker's going to be good. Leggett, man, still really raw, but at least he plays hard. And
here's the thing with Leggett too. So he broke his hand against the Saints in week 9. Before that break, he had like 1 drop on the year, and then he hurt his hand and he had like 10. Like from week 9 to week 17. And when people dunk on Xavier Leggett, that seems to be the part that no one wants to talk about. So like I admit he had his struggles. He dropped a ton of passes. If he can catch in Philadelphia, we beat the Eagles when they're peaking. Like, he definitely hurt us at times last year. But like the thing that impressed me most about him is how open he was able to get. Like he was actually able to create separation, and that was his big concern coming out. So if he can just learn to catch the ball when it goes over his shoulder, like, you could have something there. And then same thing with Coker, like you said. I mean, he made some catches last year where it was just like, damn. So he's
explosive, man.
Yeah, he's explosive. He gets separation. He can make contested catches. Like he'll lay out for balls. Like he's solid, and he only really got like a very minimal snaps, to kind of end the season. So like I think there's hope for both of those dudes, which kind of makes it tough to go all in to get a receiver. But I think at this point, it's still what you have to do. You can never have enough good receivers.
Yeah, and Chiefs had a good. A lot of people are hyping up the Chiefs free agency. I think we'll pass on that. So I think we covered everything. Unless there's something you want to mention. What's up, Aubrey? What's up, King of Hustle? Campbell's in the chat. Michael Mann clicked off. So yeah, man, I think we covered everything. Hit the like button, share the videos. But yeah, Bryce Young is looming. So I mean that's a problem, obviously. Did we miss any teams or did we miss any big moves? I don't think so. I kind of covered the stuff I wanted.
Yeah, I'm good. We can stay on for like 3 more minutes, and if there's anything else people want us to talk about, I'm game.
Let me just look at something like the Browns getting Kenny Pickett really pissed me off, by the way.
Is he there? Is he going to start? Is he their guy?
He said he's approaching it as he's the starter.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That really pissed me off, man.
I feel bad for Cam Ward. Cam Ward's probably going to go to Cleveland or New York.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That sucks for him.
What do you think about Shedeur Sanders?
I think he's very overrated. I think he gets as much hype as he does because of how much hype Colorado got. I think he plays way too much hero ball. I think his accuracy is very overrated. And I don't think he's as good as progressing like through an NFL read, set of reads as a guy like Cam Ward is. So honestly, okay, if this were last year's draft, I think he's like QB 5 or 6.
Okay.
Like this quarterback class is bad.
Yeah, well, it's just him and Cam Ward, right? Or is there another guy sneaking in?
Pretty much. It's pretty much those two and then everyone else. There is one guy who I'm kind of high on. Tyler Shook. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. His numbers are terrible. Like you look at his age,
let's not watch numbers because Josh Allen had the fucking worst numbers I've ever seen.
Well, right. Well, I'm saying numbers. I mean, like, he's 25. He's injury prone, like things like that. But you put on his tape, and he'll make some throws that just wow you. So, like someone told me the other day, and this is a bit of a stretch, but some of the things he's able to do, very Joe Burrow-esque. So I encourage you, like, go turn on his tape and just and make your own evaluation for yourself. And if I'm a team that needs a quarterback, and Tyler Shook is sitting there in the second, third round, I would not mind if you take him.
Where did he play?
Louisville.
Okay. But yeah, man,
that's the other thing too. That offense was so shitty. That's kind of hard to evaluate when you're playing for Louisville.
No, it is really tough. About Shedeur Sanders, though, I'll give you a little bit of pushback.
Okay.
I have that offensive line. There'd be so many jailbreak. Like the team would be rushing 4, and there would be just a jailbreak block miss, an Olay right up the middle, and then he has to get out of the pocket. And
that is true.
Then you start getting happy feet, and then you're always out of the pocket. I'm curious, man. I'm really curious. There is a lot of hype, though.
I will say it's almost better to be the quarterback 2 than it is the quarterback 1 at this point, because you can actually get to a
team.
Right, yeah, and that's if it sounds like Sanders is going to fall. So if he does that, he goes to falls to the end of the top 10, some of the teams, like that's a much better spot than going to the Browns or Giants like Cam Ward is probably going to do.
Yeah, and at least Cam Ward can run. I mean, you're going to need to run there. Like another team that really struggled to protect last year was the Browns.
For sure.
Wow. I mean, there was some really bad offensive line play last year. There were 6 or 7 teams that couldn't block anyone.
Bears also belong in that conversation.
Yeah, no, they do. It's just like that's why I just didn't go as hard on the Bears offensive line narrative as everyone else, because I feel like the Titans offensive line was worse. I feel like
the Titans was really bad.
I actually feel like the Seahawks offensive line was worse from a pass blocking perspective. Maybe if you mix in the run blocking, you could say that the Seahawks offensive line is better than the Bears. Like, I feel like the Giants offensive line was worse. I feel like the Steelers offensive line was equal to the Bears offensive line, for instance. Maybe I'm missing a team. Like the Raiders offensive line struggled at times, although they were pretty good going forward, even though their run game never really got going. So those are some teams that I felt like were horrendous.
Yeah.
I'm not even like there was one guy, I forgot his name. I think DeJuan Jones, who was playing right and left tackle for the Browns last year. He wasn't even getting out of his stance for Deshaun Watson. Like I've never seen anything quite like it.
The Bears also had to do. I saw a clip of one of the Bears tackles last year, and he was just out there for cardio. And Caleb, dude. Okay, you want to talk about another dud game from last year that we need to watch? Seahawks and Bears. That game was atrocious. maybe the perfect epitome of Thursday night football is that Bears Seahawks game to close out the year.
And we swept Thanksgiving, okay?
Yeah.
And then we get to that game, and I think I ended in a fucking push or an L by a half a point.
Yeah, that Bears lost because Caleb Williams just threw up an interception at the end of the game. That was egregious.
There's some. Well, I mean, I guess that answers a question about teams overpaying for interior offensive linemen because, I mean, there's some really horrific.
Carolina is paying, I think, $97 million for their offensive line. It's by far the most expensive in the league, and I don't really blame them because, like you said, there's some having a bad offensive line is not a fun thing to watch as a fan.
No, and it's the great equalizer.
Oh, for sure.
Defense had a really good start to last year. Because even the Chiefs were struggling on the offensive line last year.
Well, Mahomes was. I lost my. Hang on. Mahomes was straight up crashing out at times over his tackle play. You watched that Raiders game; it was ugly.
No, and That's why I think the Raiders, like I like their defensive end play. I think they can get some pressure, man. I'm curious to see what they do with Pete. But like you said, they could be getting in that trap race to 8 wins. And Chargers, the last thing before we go, Chargers were kind of quiet. And for all that rigmarole, letting Mike Williams go and going into the last year with no wide receivers, to bring Mike Williams back as the big move, I don't know.
I'd be pissed.
That was underwhelming. And what's going on with Tyreek Hill?
Sounds like it's gonna stay.
I mean, I guess it was all bullshit. I mean,
I guess.
I just don't know. I'm not even dramatic about stuff like that. I just think people have fights, things move on. But most people aren't like that. People, when you crash out, people get offended and they hold grudges. And even a guy like Mike McDaniel, I think he probably's like, geez, he's probably like, gee whiz.
That was weird too, because he just let it all out after the game. Like, he just wasted no time to tell everyone how he felt and then took it back like 2 weeks later.
It was a weird crash out. And
yeah, it was.
But Tyreek Hill, like, he always tried in the games. Like, that's what was so weird about it. Like, I didn't see lack of effort, obviously lack of service from the quarterback play. But Dolphins if the team needs a backup quarterback, for some reason,
let me see this. That's something we need to talk about too. Before this, okay, this is really the last thing.
Go on.
Who did the Dolphins sign as their backup quarterback?
Zach Wilson.
They're okay. Come on, Miami. They do this every year. They don't value the backup quarterback position at all.
I don't get it.
And they're the one team that really needs to.
I feel like I'm the only person in this fucking world who doesn't want Tua to retire.
Look, and I don't care if you keep Tua or not. But like, it's clear that Tua is a very injury-prone quarterback who could get hit and get knocked out of the game, even for evaluation at any point. And your answer, if he gets hurt, is Zach Wilson.
Like, at least put get like Nick Mullins. I forgot who got Nick Mullins, but like at least get so. Come on, man.
Or do what the Niners did and just get Mac Jones.
Yeah, or like Coop said, like just sign Jameis.
Yeah,
if there's any team who needs to do the 10, 12, whatever it is now, 14 for a backup quarterback, it's the Dolphins.
For sure.
Come on, man.
And if I'm backup quarterback, I want to sign with the Dolphins because A, Miami's nice, and B, you're probably going to play.
No income tax.
Yeah, no state income tax. Like, get me there.
You have to worry about that with those type of salaries.
No cold either. Like, yeah. I would play in Miami if I'm backup quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and it's good coach and good atmosphere. Yeah, man, I didn't get that, and
but they do this every year, and it killed their season last year, and they still didn't address it.
I don't get it because he's going to get hurt again. Like, and I'm the biggest Tua supporter. I want him to keep playing. Like I said, like I don't want anything to happen to the league where like he dies on the field or anything like that. I just feel like if he wants to play, you have to let him play. But I don't know, man. Come on, man. Like that hit, like that hit Hamlin gave him last year wasn't even a hit.
Marcus Mariota, another solid backup you could have got. Who else? Jacoby Brissett. Well, Jacoby Brissett's played for them.
But at this point, Jacoby Brissett's a huge upgrade. He can run an offense.
Yeah, maybe Kenny Pickett, depending on how you feel about him.
He has a similar weak arm as Tua, so maybe that's fair. I don't know.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Jimmy G. He played that one game. He's fucking very good for the.
And he would probably do well in Mike McDaniel's system. Point is, you got all these backup quarterbacks out there, and you're signing Zach Wilson to save your season if Tua goes down. So good job, Miami.
Yeah, I know. Like the only one who would have been worse is like maybe Mitch Trubisky, but I don't know. I don't know. Like I can't think of a worse backup quarterback for a worse situation.
There's one. I forget his name. It's not Nick Mullins.
DTR went to the Eagles.
Give me 1 second.
Did you see that?
Oh, he did? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did see that actually.
Dude, that guy's like the luckiest guy on earth.
Give me 1 second. There's one who's really bad. I forget his name. I gotta find it. Who was the Giants quarterback that played on Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, there's various. DeVito, DJ Locke.
No, it wasn't
TJ,
Drew.
Drew
Give me one.
Lock. Drew Lock.
Give me
It was
1
Drew
second.
Lock or DeVito.
I'm gonna find this. Hang on.
Okay.
No, it was Drew Lock. It was. Let me find it.
But are you thinking of Tommy DeVito?
No, it wasn't Tommy DeVito.
Jesus.
This dude is bad.
There was another quarterback last year for them? No.
Hang on. No, it wasn't on the Giants. It was someone else. I'm gonna find it.
Okay. Did he play?
Yes, he was the guy that threw the pick six, the Hail Mary on Thanksgiving last year.
Now I'm trying to think.
I'm gonna find it.
Are you thinking of Trey Lance? But Trey
No,
Lance
it
didn't
wasn't
play
Trey
on
Lance.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, hang on.
Who'd you rather have, Trey Lance or Zach Wilson?
Oh God, oh boy. I guess Trey Lance. Well,
I would rather have Trey Lance.
you know what? I'm taking Zach Wilson.
I'd give me
Zach
Trey
Wilson
Lance.
has low-key had some moments of brilliance in his career. Trey Lance is not.
Nate Peterman?
No, Nate Peterson's bad.
Nate Peterman's what?
I think Nate Peterson's out of the league.
He's in the league for fucking 7-8 years. He might even still be in the league.
Yeah, hang on. Okay, Jets. Stat.
But I don't know if there's a worse backup than DTR.
There's a guy who, as soon as I find his name, I'll let you know. But he had more interceptions than touchdowns in college. And this dude consistently finds a way to get a starting job. It is crazy, like, how this guy does it.
Come on, Mike.
I'm not kidding you. This is a real guy.
We got to stay on until you find it now. Everyone's curious in the chat.
Tim Boyle. There it is. Tim Boyle. There we go. Tim Boyle, baby.
He
Tim Boyle.
He played for Miami last year. He looked better than Skylar Thompson when he
Tim
went
Boyle,
in.
dude. Tim Boyle, like, what?
He looked better than Skylar Thompson, Mike.
Tim Boyle career stats. This will be a doozy.
Oh, jeez.
He has some. I remember he has really bad numbers. Hang on. Okay, in 7 seasons, he has 5 touchdowns to 13 interceptions for his career. In college, let me find his college stats. Oh, no information available. Of course, in college, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. Like, this dude, I don't know how he must be like the best locker room guy in the world, because I don't know how he keeps finding a job.
Glue guy.
Yeah, glue guy. Like, he must sell like coke in the locker room or something. Like, he's that guy. Like, great guy to like lift with or something.
I'm just saying, man, he came in and he played better than Skylar Thompson.
That's a low bar, man.
Skylar Thompson was really bad last year.
Skylar Thompson almost won a playoff game.
I know, but then last year he fell off the cliff. I don't know what happened.
But
I don't know what's going on in Miami. But all right, we'll
I gotta go. But great way to end the show,
Boyle, bro. Like
Tim Boyle, I think takes the cake. Yeah, I was loading up with that one.
All right, Mike. Thank you. Hit the like button before you guys leave. Thank you, guys. Chat was great.
Yeah, I'll see you guys soon.
All right, have a great off season.
You too, bro. Bye.
Yeah, Mike. It's